thing to say here. So State Farm Mutual Automobile Insurance. Ops over vehicles, State Farm. If they crashed into a car, I'm sure you'd be covered. Welcome to Waiver Watch episode 32 on June 21st, 2020. We are 107 Waivers, and each week we bring to you some of the most interesting waivers granted by the FAA in the weeks prior. And as always, we're switching it up a little bit, but we have been throwing in an agenda before we even get to it. So if you want to shut down the YouTube or the podcast right away, you will know what you're missing. So, as always, weekly waiver totals. Safe Air Mavic or Phantom, which is more popular? Question to be answered. And two waivers by Zipline, a complex BVLOS drone delivery waiver with some provisions. And a refresher of the State Farm BVLOS waiver with the EB. So, as always, Jakey, let's jump into it. Hit us with the weekly waiver totals.
All right, so we had things are actually coming up here, which is nice to see. We had 42 waivers approved.
Three more than last week, right?
I guess. Yeah. And I probably shouldn't say we, the FAA had 42 waivers, like acting like we've approved waivers.
We did not.
Yeah. So, 42. So coming up, it's good. We had 37 daylight operations waivers, always the category king. But we had a nice variety of a couple other waivers here. So we had two 10739 alphas with Parazero, one high altitude, and two complex waivers. Not even going to they cover each three regulations or more, but they're essentially BVLOS with some extra goodies. So those will be the two we talk about later here. But as far as where these waivers are approved this week, California is always taking home, a good chunk, but Colorado coming up this week had 4. Arizona, surprisingly, was kind of up there. Oklahoma, Florida. So
Texas falling.
I think as we see
Texas.
Yeah.
So. But
yeah. So nice variety. Things are picking up here a little bit. So
what about that state up there, Wyoming? How are they looking? Same old?
Still
nothing.
Yeah, same old. We got one in North Dakota.
Yeah,
so good
that,
to see.
Per capita.
That was actually one of our
per capita waiver ratio is climbing. Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That was like 2 episodes ago, I think, right? That we said essentially North Dakota has the most waivers per capita of any state. All right. So what's more popular, Brent? Mavic or Phantom?
And we could take a couple guesses, and I thought originally it was going to be the Phantom because it was out first. However, it is not. It is the Mavic Safe Air system, or Mavic 2 system, and that is up to a total of 50. So,
yeah,
compared to, what is it, 32, 31?
And there are like 5 combinations that do both. So I guess those would add to the totals as well. But
so what can we glean from this insight? More people are using the Mavic 2. We kind of thought about this. There was that lapse in production for the Phantom 4, so that could kind of limit some of the possibilities there. Also, just the ease of use for the Mavic system is kind of like a go-to bird. It's foldable, packable, easy to use. Very capable drone, nonetheless. Should we jump into a little bit more of the combination complex waivers?
Yeah, let's do it.
Zipline. So,
been saying them a lot lately, which is
well,
good.
they are movers and shakers in the drone delivery space for sure. So, hitting it big in North Carolina with their BVLOS. Well, it wasn't their BVLOS waiver. It was Novant's Health BVLOS waiver using the Zipline aircraft. So that was about
the Zipline Zip. right?
Zip.
I was
Yep.
like that.
Zipping around the sky there. Zippity doo dah. Here we go.
Zippity doo dah.
Dropping our waivers. Not waivers.
Dropping.
Well, they should deliver waivers like that. No, maybe it would be faster than the RFI queue sometimes. Anyways.
Actually, you know what? Do you remember they used to mail 333s to you? So when you got a 333 exemption, you would literally get a manila envelope in the mail from the FAA with a printed copy. It's amazing.
Very traditional of the FAA.
Such a waste of resources, but so cool. I think I still have it sitting somewhere. So yeah, nice. Can you imagine a zip drop in your waiver? You know,
the mail.
Yeah.
Well, USPS did put out an RFI, wasn't it, last year for drone delivery?
Yeah. Right.
It's never going to work for them. They're way too slow. I just had a very bad experience at the postal office yesterday. So good luck, because private industry will take over. But
yeah.
Anyways, let's jump into this one.
Yeah.
We're bantering quite a bit, but so amazing things. Just hit high level. What is so awesome about this, and really showing the scale that Zipline is going after?
Yeah. So this waiver, it supersedes a previous waivers, so it's really kind of building upon their experience and just all the different things they have going on. So they're going through the type certification process, probably a 135. They've been doing some amazing, kind of, I guess, practical tests, you could say, in North Carolina. All these things are kind of building up, getting some momentum. So this waiver, it's very similar to one that was approved last year, except it just increases the number that they can fly simultaneously from 5 to 30, which is actually a pretty big jump. That's a lot of aircraft in the air at a time, if you think about it. So, and
I was gonna say, like, this. So, like, we're very well versed in, like, the drone light show ecosystem, right? So 30 drone light shows, or drones in a drone light show, not a big deal, because they're all kind of staying in the same spot. But this is like a large aircraft, still a small unmanned system, under 55 pounds, but they're not hovering. They're like flying in circles and doing their routes. Like, this is interesting. Like you're saying, 30 doesn't seem like a lot when you talk about a 300 Intel drone light show, but these are fixed wing aircraft flying in an area, which is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, this waiver does allow kind of BVLOS, although they still need VOs. So it's probably the kind of the standard these days with daisy chaining and holding the sky. But imagine, I mean, what are we talking? Maybe at most 2, 3, 4 square miles and 30 fixed wing aircraft flying around it there. Right. That's actually like really dense operations. So they must have some sort of kind of internal traffic management system, I'm guessing, to help keep everybody separated. And, if one has a failure or some technical issue, they can handle it appropriately. So it's actually pretty complex.
It's actually a provision in their waiver as well, that if a aircraft has a failure, all the others still operate, which is common for the swarming 107.35 operations. They are definitely going after a 135. So I also wanted to, let's talk about this test location. So in our blog, we have the address. It's in California. And if you just drop that into Google and kind of look around in the area, you will actually see the facility stood up. You can see the 2 arches where they capture the drone. You can see their white kind of like commercial tent. You can see their long job trailer, which they had like in the Novant picture that I saw. They had some generators and stuff sitting outside. So this is like a full-on like ops center, like hardcore setup, office, little tent to put all the aircraft in. And if you look at some of the Zipline videos, like, you can kind of imagine what's inside this white tent. But it's actually crazy to see on Google Earth, to zoom in and go see that image. So I would, go check out that area. It's very, very interesting. And then you can see what type of area they're operating in and picture 30 aircraft flying simultaneously in this area. It's truly amazing. Yeah,
it's a very sparsely populated area, so I'm sure that helps the safety case.
Mountainous.
Yep, kind of the foothills, and cattle ranching is actually like a big thing in that area, ag. So it's very sparsely populated, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, so to speak.
And then one thing too, like in this provision, so it's BVLOS drone delivery under Part 107. So you can't do drone delivery for compensation or hire. So basically, this is really showing that it's a test facility to exercise this equipment because they're not going to the neighbor's house to drop off a package.
Yep.
So
I mean, frankly, this could be for their DNR testing at some point, to start demonstrating that and building hours and all that.
What better way to rack hours up on aircraft? You have to use it. I think you have to.
Oh, it's okay. Like at least a minimum of 3.
Yeah.
But as long as they're all configured the same and being operated in the same manner, it's all
right. So you do need to rack up like failure hours though. Like so you can't just like spread it across 30, right? Because but it's a way to increase the overall hours very quickly, which is super smart, right? Mm-hmm. So this would be a benefit to 107 operations for a drone delivery company is getting to scale so you can increase your operational hours to prove that your airframe is safe. Mm-hmm. I didn't think about that. Like just think about those flight hours, just racking it up. You just 30x'd, your opportunity. So
right.
So yeah, that's amazing. Go check it out. Like I said, check out that waiver, check out that location. It's always curious to go look and see what type of infrastructure you can see standing up. So,
yep. And if you missed the Novant Health waiver, that's episode 28. We've got a link, so definitely go check that out as well. Very, very forward-leaning operation, one of a kind. So, go read up about it.
Now, rolling over to the State Farm BVLOS waiver with the SenseFly EB. Give us some high-level details about where this has come from. We haven't covered this one exclusively, but we do have a link from the initial BVLOS article. So I'll let you kind of
So this one has a lot of history. State Farm's been kind of pushing the envelope for quite a while. They've been working with test sites and other FAA programs. So last year they got a pretty advanced waiver to do storm damage response with EB. And at the time, I think it was the EB Classic was the only one that they had approved. And essentially, a storm rolls through. They want to get out and do some assessment as soon as possible. These environments are typically, they're not populated. There may be some first responder types in there or maybe people doing cleanup, but they're generally unpopulated. Maybe there's controlled access kind of in and out in there. So the environment's very unique. The EB is also fairly safe, but they've done a lot of testing to show that. So
part of the Assure report.
Yeah, it is part of Assure, but they've done much more beyond that. The Assure was kind of the baseline almost for them. So all that put together, they basically got this waiver to do kind of BVLOS storm damage with the EB. And so this waiver is really just a continuation of that. It's actually just a responsible person update. But otherwise, the provisions haven't really changed. So yeah, BVLOS, EB, Classic and Plus, and operations over human beings. So,
and let's talk about that portion right there. So the waiver is calling out 107.39, and it doesn't have A or B attached, and it's hard to determine whether or not this is allowing for operations over moving vehicles because it doesn't explicitly say it doesn't allow it, but it doesn't say it does allow it.
Right.
Which is like reading on the second page, operations over human beings is waived to allow operations over non-participating human beings. And right there, it doesn't give the A or B. And if you look up above, 107.33B and C, too. So it's like they're already calling out subsets to the regs. So I'm kind of like, why did they not put A or B in here?
Yeah. And
is this like an intentional oops to be like, we don't really want you to fly over cars, but we realize it's a styrofoam plane and it's not going to go through a windshield, and just don't tell us what you're doing. I don't. They would never say that, right? But is that what this is?
There's been scenarios similar to that before that they instead of like you said, if they don't explicitly say you can't, they're sort of allowing it. But this kind of goes back to the whole liability issues sometimes. But I was looking in the Parazero waivers just like for comparison, right? So they do specify A, and they specifically prohibit operations over moving vehicles as a provision. And we've seen this in other like BVLOS waivers where they'll specifically say like you can or you can't. So it is kind of interesting that it's just missing from this.
It's just hanging like just out there, right? Like So I don't know, right? You know, like frankly, like you know, your intent is like I'm trying to follow it, and I flew over a car or a highway. Maybe they're just turning a blind eye and saying it's fine because they do know that flying EBs, and even if it crashes, it still glides to the ground. It doesn't drop like a rock. It's styrofoam. I mean, I've been hit. Do you remember getting those styrofoam big winged airplanes like 3 foot, and you'd throw them and they'd do a loop and they'd hit you in the back of the head and you'd be fine? Like,
yeah, right.
That's pretty much an EB there. So props are in the back, so the prop won't hit you at first. The nose will hit you.
Yep.
The worst part to get hit is probably the camera, but that's on the belly, so
it'd be hard to hit by that, but
yeah.
So I think it's probably worth mentioning too that State Farm does have like a CONOP and a GOM, and they have defined some criteria that they can fly and it can't. So as always, we are sort of guessing on what we see in this waiver, but they probably have some procedure there with vehicles that we just don't know about, and the waiver doesn't specifically say. So not that we're saying that, you know, they're just going doing whatever they want, but sometimes there's things we don't see in the waiver, and we just don't know. So
just kind of one last like kind of thing to say here. So State Farm Mutual Automobile Insurance. Ops over vehicles, State Farm. If they crashed into a car, I'm sure you'd be covered.
As if their own. Right.
Yeah. Farmers Insurance. I'm thinking of those commercials right now. We've seen a thing or two, right?
Yeah. Well, so that's an interesting point, though. Like, with an EV, if you're doing like a raster of a neighborhood that's been hit, you're obviously getting your clients' homes, but you're also getting your competitors' homes, right? I wonder. Wonder how they're handling that. Maybe it's the point. Like,
so, you know. Is there a battle coming up here where there's another insurance agency that is now at an unfair advantage because this waiver has been granted?
Yep.
I would probably say they have something to stand on there. So,
yeah,
you know, Geico could go up and say, "Hey, we want the same waiver." Obviously, they're gonna have to build a safety case and gain operational experience, but FAA certainly can't shut them down from doing the exact same thing. So, yeah. And
all right,
to wrap it up, acceleration. What do you think? We're slightly seeing a peak in the numbers growing, only by 3 waivers this week, but overall, Jakey, your thoughts on the industry moving forward?
Yeah, this is I think a question that's been on everybody's mind. Like, what has COVID-19 actually done to the industry? I think certainly some have slowed down, but I've also talked to many that are speeding up. Business has never been better. Automation has never been more of a priority. And so I don't know. I think, you know, if you just looking at the drone industry, obviously there's lots of bad things from this, but maybe COVID-19 wasn't such a bad thing after all for the drone industry, and just pushing, you know, technology, automation, and all that stuff forward. So,
it applied pressure in all the right areas, right? I mean, we have drone delivery now. This was like a high priority, a lot of focus on it. So, I do agree that COVID-19, although bad in some senses, has pushed and created more of a value stream for drones in general. So keeping people out of the field to do site inspections, contactless delivery, and everything else in between. So yeah, excited to see our waiver totals next month. I do feel like this is the upward trend, right? Things are going to start happening. It's summer. People are getting antsy. They want to do things. So hopefully
I think
we
so.
can keep that momentum going.
I think so.
Anyways, so until next time, right? Take care.
Fly safe.